The morning the cowboy lost his horse, it felt like the frontier itself had turned its back on him, because in the Wild West a man without a horse was already halfway to the grave, and Silas Crow knew this truth the way a man knows the weight of his own shadow. The night before, a sudden dust storm had rolled down from the red hills like an angry spirit, ripping through the camp, snapping ropes, and when dawn finally broke, the fire was ash and his stallion, Iron Wind, was gone. Iron Wind was not just a horse. He was the last living thing Silas trusted in a land that had taken his family, his ranch, and his faith piece by piece. He searched the dry riverbed, the mesquite groves, the rocky trail leading toward Apache territory, calling the horse's name until his throat burned. But the only answer was silence and circling vultures overhead. By noon, Silas accepted the truth that every cowboy feared. Iron Wind was either stolen or dead, and both possibilities meant the same thing out here. He packed what little he could carry and prepared himself for a long walk toward the nearest settlement, knowing each step without a horse made him pray. As the sun dipped low, he noticed signs he couldn't explain. Broken twigs arranged too neatly, a strange pattern pressed into the dust. Not animal, not white man either. Patchy signs. His hand drifted toward his revolver, but his heart sank instead, because he knew the stories. Raiding parties, swift deaths, no mercy. Night fell heavy and cold, and Silas slept with one eye open, expecting never to wake. But dawn came quietly, almost kindly, and that was when he heard it, hooves. One set.
Familiar. Impossible.
Silas stood slowly, heart hammering, as Iron Wind emerged from the morning mist, walking calmly toward him as if nothing had happened. Relief surged through Silas so hard his knees nearly buckled, but it froze in his chest when he saw what was on Iron Wind's back. An Apache warrior lay draped over the saddle, unconscious, blood darkening his buckskin, black hair braided with red thread hanging loose. For a long moment the world stood still. Silas could have run. He could have drawn his gun. He could have finished the job the desert had started. Instead, he saw the arrow wound in the warrior's side, badly infected, and the way Iron Wind nudged him gently, as if asking for help. Horses knew things men didn't. With shaking hands, Silas helped the warrior down and dragged him into the shade, his mind screaming that this was madness. An Apache warrior alive was danger. An Apache warrior saved was war. But something in the man's face, young but hardened, proud even in unconsciousness, stirred something Silas thought had died years ago. He cleaned the wound with precious water, pulled the arrowhead free, and worked through the pain cries until the warrior passed out again. All day Silas stayed alert, expecting others to come, but no one did. By evening, the warrior opened his eyes, dark and sharp, locking onto Silas like a drawn blade. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The air was thick with history, blood, and hatred older than either of them. Slowly, the Apache warrior raised his hand, not in threat but in acknowledgement. Silas nodded once. That night, they shared the fire in silence, enemies bound by circumstance and something stranger, respect. The warrior's name was Nantan, which Silas learned later meant speaker, though he spoke little. Over the next days, Silas learned the truth through gestures and broken words. Iron Wind had wandered into Apache lands and been taken, but when Nantan was ambushed by rival raiders, the horse had bolted, carrying him away from death and back to the man who loved him. Iron Wind had chosen. That choice changed everything. As Nantan healed, the two men spoke more, discovering shared loss, shared scars, and a shared understanding that the land didn't belong to one people. It owned them all. When Apache scouts finally appeared, tension snapped like a rifle shot, but Nantan stood between Silas and the drawn bows, raising his voice at last, fierce and commanding. The warriors listened. They lowered their weapons. The next morning, Nanten left with his people, but not before turning back and placing a hand over his heart, then pointing to Silas. Promise. Seasons passed, and Silas found that no Apache raids touched his land again. Sometimes, at dawn, he'd see figures on distant ridges, watchers, protectors. Iron Wind lived long, strong, and free, and Silas often wondered who had really saved whom that morning. So if this story moved you, if you felt the dust, the danger, the unexpected bond that changed two enemies into brothers, then don't ride past without stopping. Subscribe to the channel, because out here in the Wild West of stories, every subscriber is part of the campfire, and the best tales are still coming.